All right, we're alive. This is episode, I think 13, and I'm only 8 minutes behind. Last time, I think I was like a full hour behind because I still had not dialed this process down in. But anyways, welcome everyone. I see there's a few viewers in here. I don't know who you are. You can go ahead and say hi. Live chat should be enabled. I don't have any moderators in here, so don't say anything that's going to make you ban you. I could go on a power trip and just start banning everyone. But anyways, so this is the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot podcast. This is episode 13. We have been, I guess, Instagram buddies for a while, and somewhere along the lines, I knew that you were joining the Army, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna wait till she graduates, and then maybe I'll ask her then, like, what was her reason behind it. Maybe I'll ask, like, if she wants to be on the podcast. And so I finally did. And you're also a nurse too, which is completely badass. So anyways, so why don't you go ahead and introduce us? Where are you from? What do you do? And like, what was your original intent in joining her? What did you want to do?
So, what's up? I'm Brie or Brianna, whichever one you want to call me, or I guess, asshole, as I've been so used to being called at basic training in AIT. So, I'm an Army brat, actually, so I grew up all over. Both my parents were warrant officers, so we traveled around. I spent a lot of time in Georgia and North Carolina, though, so I guess I'm technically a Southerner. I think that's the thing. I've always wanted to join the Army. I knew ever since I was little. I was in the back of my dad's Bronco, and he was telling me about being an infantryman. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, this sounds super cool. And as I got older, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to be an infantryman, just like my dad. He was airborne. I was like, I want to go to special forces. I'm going to be the first female. I'm going to do all these things. And I ended up having my son. And at the time, single moms couldn't join. Mm-hmm. So I was like, shit, well, that's, been nixed, so I got to do something. And I ended up getting into nursing, which I actually really loved. And I don't know, just couldn't put off wanting to join the military. Like, I, would revisit the idea every year. And I remember we're a very patriotic family.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing about people getting killed in action. And it was something that just really bothered me to my core. And I was just like, not everyone has to join the military to serve their country, but I felt like I had the ability to. I knew that I had something to offer. I knew it had been like a calling since I was 4. And I was just really pissed at myself at my core just for not joining and doing something.
Yeah.
And so my recruiter was like, fuck no, you can't be 11 Bravo. Like, what the hell? Like, you're a nurse. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Well, you can't be a grunt. It's stupid. And I was like, well, like, what would you have me be? He's like, well, if you don't want to be an officer, how about combat medic? And I was like, what? And he was like, just hear me out, you'll love it. And ended up being the best thing ever. And I ended up realizing along the way that I want to go do special forces. So I ended up wanting to get into that in about a year if I can.
Oh, are they? So I'm a little bit out of the loop. Are they finally allowing?
They just graduated.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's impressive. I had no idea. I haven't been paying attention to any of that. That's impressive. I hope you get into it. I hope you train. I hope you train for it. And I hope you make it. That would be like an ultimate goal to accomplish right there.
Yeah, I've been like geeking from the sidelines, like, is she gonna make it? Is she gonna make it? And she did. She's an 18 Charlie, I think is what they said. So she's a combat engineer for them.
No kidding.
Yeah, right. I was like, that's so cool.
Wow.
So I'm not gonna be the first one, but I don't really care. I just want to do it. So
that's what I was in the Army. I was an engineer, but at the time in sapper school, this is crazy. I think sapper school was the first school in the Army that allowed females to attend, and then it just started slowly spreading out from there. But I mean, those schools are no joke. I mean, it comes from every guy. Those guys that drop out of it. It's like there's like no ratio at all. Like that you can like say like that everyone's gonna, this amount of people is gonna succeed. This one, it's like everyone's different. Everyone's gonna go in there in their own books and compete and complete the tasks differently than everyone else. But like when I was on the land nav course, man, I was with I got paired up with another engineer. But the second time I went through the land nav course, because we failed it, we got paired up with a guy that was just graduated from ODA, and I have like some ADD issues, so I always figure weird stuff out that other people don't. And so like one thing that I had figured out is if you turn the protractor over a certain way and you align it on the grid squares on the map, that you could actually figure out exactly where a point was better than just guessing where it was inside that grid square. And this guy in the ODA team had never seen it before. He was like, dude, that's crazy. I was like, I don't know why I figured it out. I just did it one day. I was like, I don't want to do this and guess every time. Pretend like I'm counting 10 clicks on a grid square. I'm surprised it never really took off. No one else. I don't think a lot of people know about that. But
dummies doing that.
Yeah. I was like, I feel like such a nerd that I figured that out on my own. Like it was, I was just trying to find an easy way so I wouldn't have to guess. I guess.
Who calls you a nerd for? They're just mad because they didn't figure it out themselves. Okay?
Exactly. Well, I mean, if anyone wants to know, this is a very, very overpowered Irish whiskey. It's missing the whipped cream on it. It has the brown sugar in there, and that whiskey is very, very strong. I hope everyone can hear me. I haven't been checking, but yeah. So how did you, in your, like, what kind of led you to becoming a nurse, and like how did you start out? Did you like go through nursing school completely, or did you like graduate? Did you do like CNA and then go like?
So I was that dumb 18-year-old who let her boyfriend, or her fiance at the time. I was that dumb at 18 years old. I hate to perpetuate the stereotype.
I think everyone makes their decisions.
It's tragic, really. I cringe at it. But he talked me out of going into the Marines initially. And so I was like, well, shit, like, what can I do? And everyone's like, well, you're super smart and you like people and you like science. You should be a nurse. And I was like, well, that'll be easy. That's a fucking lie. Nursing school is not easy. I did get my CNA because it was required to start the nursing program, but I never worked as one. And I got my associate's degree because at the time I had my son. And I was like, well, shit, do I want to spend 4 years getting 2 of it that's just leadership courses, or do I want to just go ahead and do 2 years of school?
Yeah.
My degree. So I was like, screw it, I'll take the extra experience, because when you do your 2-year degree, you get more clinical time. So I did that and just started working, and ended up realizing that I really did like it along the way.
Yeah.
And nursing isn't just, working on a floor in the hospital or an ICU or outpatient. It's like so broad, like all the things that you can do with it. And I didn't find out until my last year of school that there was a trauma ICU, which is where I ended up doing my preceptorship, and I fell in love with trauma. So that kind of just really cemented how I felt about nursing at that point.
Oh, that's crazy. So what's been like the hardest thing that you've had to deal with being a nurse?
It's really not people. Everyone thinks it is, and it's not. I honestly think it's probably the team that you work with. I've had a fluctuation in my last job, because I just left this week, where I started off and it was a shit team to start with. Like, we were in between nurse managers at that point, and I liked my supervisors, but the people that I worked with on nights fucking sucked. They were horrible, they were catty, like it was god awful. And you couldn't even enjoy being a nurse because you're stressed out, everyone's sick, you're overloaded. It's just like the typical stuff. Every nursing floor is the same. Everyone's understaffed, overworked, got too much to do, but it's the team that you work with.
Yeah.
right as I left, I was telling them I was so pissed off. I got a supervisor on nights that I loved, and I liked almost every single one of my person on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely, if you have to work with a team that is like, well, that's not in my job description, or that's not what I have to do to make sure that I don't get, written up for at work. It's like those people that make work fucking suck. Part of my French, I'm cursing. I apologize.
Oh, that's fine. There's been a few episodes where we had a few beers or alcoholic drinks, and we sounded like we were in the Navy for a while there.
Brat, nurse, cannon, mom. I mean, I curse every other word. I feel so bad for it. That's the other thing. I used to get on to at work where I was like, you all fucking curse. At least I don't do it in the picture.
So your dad was an 11 Bravo?
Yeah, to start with. So he was in Bravo.
How long was he in the military?
So he was in for 25 years.
Oh wow, so he actually retired.
Yeah, and so he did 11 Bravo for 4 years, and then he was like, he thought about doing Green Beret. He's like, do I want to camp out for the rest of my life, or be smart about this, like the recruiter said. So he went to Intel, and that's how he met my mom.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So your mom was also in the military too.
20 years.
That seems to happen a lot in the military. But so, how long ago was it that you finally decided that now is the time that I can sign up. I want to join the Army, and before you ended up actually signing the paperwork and getting shipped off. How long ago was that?
So that was December 2017 is when I made the decision. I remember distinctly. I can even remember. It was the 23rd of December. I went out and had a few drinks with a Marine buddy of mine. God bless him. He's dead now. He just died when I came home. But he and I were talking, and I was like, I always get this feeling this time of the year that I need to join. And he was like, you're dumb. Like, you're a nurse. You're doing more than we're doing over there. Like an angry veteran.
Yeah.
And I was like, but, I just want to do my part.
Yeah.
He was like, he crabbed at me the entire time over mozzarella sticks. And I remember thinking, if I don't do this now, because someone always talked me out of it every year. Someone always rationalized it. And I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I'm going to let someone talk me out of it every year until I'm 35 when I can't do it. And I'm going to be one of those assholes who goes, well, I almost joined the military, but,
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that guy. So I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna join. And I initially drove to the Marine office. They were like, well, you have to do waivers, and then you have to give up your kid. And I was like, forget that now. So
Whoa.
I drove. Yeah, they were like, you have to give up your kid for training. And I remember talking to the gunnery sergeant, and I was like, well, will I get him back? And he's like, that kind of depends upon your command, and I don't really trust military command, so I wouldn't do it if I were you. And I was like, noted, okay. So I went to talk to the Army active guys, and they said the same thing. And they were like, this is kind of like the cardinal sin, but have you thought about the guard? And I was like, oh no, my dad will call me a weekend warrior for the rest of my life. Nightmare. And they were like, just think about it. And so I was like, you know what? I need to stop being prideful. So I drove straight to my recruiter's office for the guard. And I was like, I want to join. I'm dead serious. He's like, well, do you want to set up an interview? And you can bring all your stuff back.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I have all of it right here for you. And I had my birth certificate, I had my son's information, I had everything. He's like, you literally have everything I need for your packet right now. And I was like, can I join? Like, you gotta be shitting me. And so he starts smoking, chain smoking cigarettes, excited. We got my packet done, I think, in an hour. And he was like, that's gonna be a record. He's like, you do realize you're a dream come true, right? And I was like, you're welcome. He's like, what do you want to do? Your GT scores are perfect. You can have any job. I was like, 11 Bravo. And he was like, son of a bitch. So, yeah. So, it took me a couple weeks to get everything good to go and go to MEPS and so on and so forth. The hardest part was getting all my tattoos waived because I had too many. So.
You had to get your how many tattoos do you have?
Well, I have 13 now, but I had 12 at the time.
You had to get you actually had to get waivers for tattoos.
You know how to get waivers for tattoos, for
I'm
having a kid, for
I'm
something else too.
I'm surprised they. I don't know. There's so many things that I question about the military. I'm just like, unless the tattoo's on your face, like, why do you care?
Well, it's
You know?
worse for the Marines now because they apparently they can't have them too close together, or it's considered like sleeves are a big deal. They have to get that waived. Like they were a lot harder with the Marine office than they were with the Army.
Oh, you think
There,
you think it'd be the opposite? That's funny.
right?
That's so odd. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. And the whole thing with it's like, what would be the difference between if a woman had a kid and she goes to training for a while? Whoa!
Too close together.
My phone just started playing. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was weird. It's got a poltergeist. But yeah, and it's like, it's like if a woman has a child, but she goes for training, well, obviously that child has to go somewhere. It's going to probably stay with a grandparent or, the other parent for a while. But what would be the difference between that and deploying? Because you join the guard, right? So even as a guard, you can still deploy. So what would be the difference,
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I said. So for the Marines, they said it's because it's considered active duty orders if you're in training, which you are. But my thought process was, if I have a family care plan that's set in place, why does it fucking matter?
Yeah.
My family care plan is going to say the exact same thing. Are you going to make me give my kid up for deployment? Because that's not what happens.
Yeah. Courts don't operate like that.
Yeah, no, the Marines that I found are just very surprisingly selective. Everyone gives them such a bad rap, and they're like, oh, they're dumb and this and that, and they're actually really not. They are very selective in who they bring into the Marines, especially because they're always in the limelight, it seems.
Yeah.
So, well, gotta respect the fact that you guys are so gun ho on just making sure that you don't take anyone off the street. But
yeah.
No.
There's always two or three branches that seem to always be in the news. It's either the Air Force, the Navy, and sometimes the Marines, and sometimes the Army. The Coast Guard seems to just kind of unless they're doing a drug bust, Did you ever watch that drug bust that went viral that they did?
Oh no, I did not.
Oh, it was so amazing. That was the best. You gotta watch it. You wouldn't expect seeing a coastie doing what he did. That drug bust on that submarine was absolutely I'm sitting here. I'm like, all right, you topped it. I can't say nothing about the Coast Guard anymore. You would never see anyone from the Marines or the Army doing that. There's absolutely no way. This guy jumps right on top of a submarine that's obviously smuggling drugs, because that's what they found inside of it, and that's what they've been using. And he just jumps right on top of it with his full battle rattle, his helmet, his vest, and his weapon. And the submarine's hauling. You can see waves splashing up on the side, and it's super tiny. He's barely big enough for him to stand on, and he just jumps right on top of it, starts pounding on the top. And I'm like, what a nut! This guy's got huge kahoonies, man. Those things are huge. Yeah, I'm like, man, yeah, I'm pretty sure if his clapped together, it would create a new planet or something. Because that was brave. There's no way I'd be doing that. I'd probably, as soon as I jumped on that submarine, if I did it, I'd slip in the water and drown. You would never see me. I'd sink.
Yeah, you see, I'm so fucking clumsy too. I just I hurt my ankle recently too. I walk.
I saw that.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Just fucking rolled on me.
I get around with one leg. Just cut it off. You don't need it.
Yeah. That's what I keep telling them. They just look at me like my command's what the fuck, guy? I can do all this super high speed shit. I can do more pull-ups than most females and males. And I just walk and my ankle goes, nah, I'm not feeling it today, and just rolls inward. And I'm just like, why?
Did you walk off a curb doing it?
I think so. I pronate when I walk. They found that out at training. So I tend to walk on the outside of my feet anyway, because I'm fucking weird.
That's right.
And
I think I do that. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, well, you can see it in the tread of my boots, because I didn't even know that, and they were looking at my boots at the end of training. I was like, holy shit, I do that.
Yeah.
Because I tore my right ankle ligaments during the 7 Mile ruck march in training. And so I came home, I was
Makes
like,
me
yeah, I'm
laugh.
gonna get my ruck down so I can go to S fast. I can be super like fast, and I'm at a
Yeah.
great
I totally
pace.
took off my shoe.
I didn't see that. I need to look.
Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, no, so yeah, I'm Rocky and I was at 11:30 pace. I was feeling really good about myself, and I was running down the same part of the road I always go down, and I was like, I need to be careful right there because the sidewalk just kind of, or the road rather is worn away, and I was like, I could trip there. Like, don't be fucking dumb. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
And what does my ankle do? It goes, hey, like right turn. So my ankle just goes, boom, completely under me.
Oh, that sounds awful.
In front of my neighbors too, who were walking
Did
with their
you?
dogs.
So here's my question. Did you hear any of the ligaments rip or anything?
No.
Okay.
That happened to me the first time I did it when I was 17. I heard the pop. I'm like, oh shit,
Oh
that's
man.
not good.
So I've done that. I've done that. I've heard the pop. The last time I rolled my ankle, um, about a year or so afterwards, I had to have surgery on it. But I heard every single. It sounded like ripping notepad paper. It was like, brrr, and I was like, oh, that's a new sound.
Not a very good one.
I don't think it's supposed to sound like that. But yeah, I saw that. I was wondering. I was gonna ask, whose ass did you kick?
The ground kicked my ass apparently.
I was like, because there's only so many people's asses that you could kick where the ass would actually put your foot in the boot like that.
Yeah, no.
And
Yeah,
those people are few and far between.
it was pretty sad because at basics, we're always rocking in the dark because it's always like dark 30 when you're going. And I'm clumsy as hell, and all you hear is fuck, shit, like much clattering as I'm tripping over things in the dark. And from the back, you'd hear someone go, "Is Psych okay?" Because they automatically knew it was me. Like everyone knew it was me on the ruck march if they heard stumbling. And so now they call it psyching if I trip or I do something clumsy. And someone's like, "You done psyched again, didn't you?"
Why? How did that name come up?
They made all the derpy and clumsy things in life just be a psych thing to do. So,
So you did. So I get my prosthetic legs made on the same base where you go to, which I thought was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that'd be cool if I ran into you over there, and I've been getting my legs made. So this might say something about my age, but I've been getting my legs made there since when I was last injured in 2007, and then I had the amputation in 2008. And I think it was like about the time that I was getting out that those barracks that they put you guys in, they were just finishing up building them, or they had just started building them. I don't remember, but they've been there for, I want to say, almost 10 years. But like that, but I mean, I don't really drive on that side of the base very often. I go to Camp Bullis, which is where my military PCM is at. But I don't see them because I'm 4 hours away, 3-4 hours away. But so isn't that part of the base? Didn't they make it so? I mean, at least from my understanding, now like all the branches come there for their medical training.
yeah.
So what was that like? I mean, what can you talk about that wouldn't get you in trouble?
Fucked. My class got fucked because of COVID. So we were in Foxtrot 2020, and Echo got to go before us.
Mm-hmm.
They went to Camp Bullis and they got fucked out of their graduation. And so we were like, are we going to get to go to Camp Bullis? Because it's a big deal. Because basically what they do is they throw you out there. You work on pigs, from what I understand. And actually, yeah, so, pigs and humans have similar anatomy and whatnot, which is pretty dope if you think about it. So they let you work on them. You're out in the wilderness, you have a 3-day FTX where you do ruck marches, you practice carrying casualties on litters, just the real deal. And then you practice having a battalion aid station set up where you have simulated artillery rounds coming in, people are getting blown up, and you have to triage as medics. Like, it's a huge group of us. There was it would have been nutty because there was 400 of us in our class, which was unheard of because there's usually only about 200.
Yeah.
And you rotate in and out who's senior medic, who's line medic, and just different roles in the battalion aid station that you would play when you go over to actual war. And COVID-19 was not going to let us have that, so we got screwed. They were like, yeah, you're going to do a 3-day FTX just down where you do PT. We're going to let you like at least do that. And then they were like, yeah, no, fuck you guys. You don't get to do anything. We were like, what? Like, nothing?
So you didn't even get to do any type of FTX.
No, we were so mad because they were saying we were going to do a 3-day one like for weeks, and then they were like, never mind, you guys will be too close together. And then the next week they let Alpha do it, which was the class after us. So Alpha got to do a 3-day FTX, and we're like, oh, so they don't have to socially distance themselves, but we have to stay 6-star intervals because, screw us. And Command was like, yep. So Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie just got done doing theirs.
Was Alpha the shitbag company?
So Alpha and Foxtrot were pretty strict as far as the stuff that we got to do, but they were stupid strict. Like, drill sergeants just like to play fuck games, whereas Foxtrot, at least they had reasons behind being strict. Echo was the shitbag company.
Which one were you in again?
Foxtrot.
Okay, at least you weren't in Echo.
Yeah, no, we're in Echo. Someone in Echo right now, they can hear someone from Foxtrot talking shit.
There's always that one company wherever you go where they seem to put like all the shit bags in, and you could immediately tell when you get to the units. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, now I get the vibe of this place. There's like some companies that they're strict, but they get to do whatever the heck they want. That's because they don't ever get in trouble. They don't ever do dumb stuff.
Yeah, that was Echo, and then like to an extent Delta, and we shared the building with them too. So we were just like, oh shit, man. Like you're doing what?
That's crazy. So they just completely bypass. I wonder who. So that person was either looking out for you guys, or they decided that you guys were squared away enough. However, they were scoring you guys. Or like, I wonder if they based it off of like who had like the better passing.
I think it was just a moment of panic because we did a lot of dumb stuff with Foxtrot. Like, I'm not saying by far we were the most squared away. Bravo was most squared away, if I'm admitting anything. Bravo never got in trouble. No one ever talked about Bravo.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I feel like for our CCAs, which is our combat casualty assessments, so where we're going in and actually practicing dragging people off the X, and doing all of our medic shit, we did really well, all things considered. There were a lot of people who didn't pass the first time, which is like neither here nor there. There weren't a lot of people who had to do multiple retakes, but COVID hit hard and everyone started to panic around the time that we were doing the CCAs, because what happens is we practice our skills, we get validated on our skills, we do our CCA and get validated on that, and then we get sent to bolus. And so everything was coming down the pipeline where we had colonels coming down like, why aren't you 6 feet apart? And we're like, because we're medics and we have to work on each other. Like, I don't understand, like, what do you mean 6 feet apart? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And they started getting a lot of heat from higher up. And I think that there was just so much like red tape and so much just we gotta look squared away at all times when we were going through that. They were like, no, we're not letting you do anything.
Yeah.
And then the command realized it wasn't going to blow over in a couple of weeks, that this was going to be a longer process.
Yeah.
And so they decided to adapt.
And don't you normally at the end of your guys' training get to do or participate in the expert or compete for the expert medic badge too? Combat medic badge?
No, we get to do that when we go to our units, which I'm actually really excited for, because they were like, go do that ASAP. So I'm hoping the schools open back up so I can go for mine.
Yeah, you totally should. I think it would look good with you. But the whiskey's starting to talk. Anyways, so so you graduated. What was it like for your experience Because I remember you graduated in March, right?
April.
April. So it was like right after. Yeah, it's been almost been at least a month. But what was it like? I'm just asking you like a question because I haven't been on a plane since January. What was it like flying through the airports when all this stuff? Because you had to fly, right, to get back home. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other big thing. Was no one knew when they were leaving until the day before. We were like, oh, we're leaving today, okay. Because like I told you before we started, like my active duty friends, some of them are still trapped in Tradoc. But yeah, no, it was weird because I didn't know what I was gonna expect. And I got into the airport and it was just quiet, and I was just like, what the fuck? And we go through.
That'd be so creepy.
Yeah, it was. I was like, what is this? Like almost everything was closed out except for Starbucks.
Yeah.
They had like 1 or 2 shops open, and except for my military buddies that were there with me, there was maybe like 4 or 5 civilians.
That's crazy. Was everyone wearing a mask at the time or no?
Yeah, anyone who wasn't coming from Fort Sam, because we were all like, fuck that, Dobby is a free elf, we're not wearing a mask, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're all pretty sure we had COVID anyway back in January and February, but yeah, no, everyone was wearing masks and looking at us like, why aren't you covering your face? And I'll go to the store here and I'm just like, I have an immune system of steel, so I'm not worried. And I'll walk in the store and everyone's like giving me this look like, I can see your nose in your mouth. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the
thing. That's funny. It's like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that at least a few of us, quite the majority of us, we've been exposed to COVID since at least January. I mean, it's been around in China since November. I'm like, and they're trying to say there's no way that someone that had it didn't get on a plane in those 2 months and fly somewhere else. I'm like, there's no way it just didn't happen. It had to have happened. It's funny because like I got sick in January, and then I got sick again in February. But the second time I got sick, I don't know what it was. Something in my throat, some of the tissue in my throat got so swollen. I ended up having I getting recommended to ENT to go have my tonsils and my tonsils removed, some of my soft palate removed, and my uvula, part of my uvula removed.
Oh, great!
Because it was so swollen, so enlarged, I couldn't breathe out of it. I was like multiple times in February, I was like choking on it, and I was just like, huh. And then in March this happens. I'm like, well, that's ironic. I'm like, I could care less. I'm not if I did get it or not, but I know it's changing a lot of people's lives. And I got lucky. I think I was like one of the last surgeries that they did in the area that I'm at. I'm pretty sure that was the last day that they were doing surgeries, and I might have been the second to the last person they did a surgery on that day. But it was weird because going into the hospital at the time, and everyone's like, I had a lot of people who were like, oh, are you going to cancel it? I'm like, no, why would I cancel a surgery when, if you think about it, we may not be able to get a surgery for another year with the way things are playing out, or 2 years. You don't know. You don't know when the next time you're going to be able to, and I don't want to die in my sleep choking on my throat. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's take this stuff out and get it over with so I can, so I can breathe. that was the way I was thinking about it. But that was awful. That was a horrible surgery. That was so painful. It wasn't bad. I've had worse. But like walking in the hospital and like seeing like all these like aides and technicians and the nurses, I mean, they even looked frightened, and there was like no one in there. It was completely empty. I was the only. When I walked in the front door, like everyone in the hospital looked like they had some type of fear, on their face, but they were just doing their job. And I was just like, man, the stuff that these people got to put up with now, this is this is something that you really don't. I mean, you really don't realize like the potential of stuff to go around a hospital. I mean, you got. It's not even just COVID; it's hepatitis too. You know, if you like, you know, you're trying to give someone an IV and you accidentally poke yourself, you know, with that same needle. You know, there's always a chance. And I know it's changed for a lot of people, but like, how has that change, like, affected you? Because you're also a nurse too. And is this something that, like, as a medic and training in the military, that you guys also kind of do they cover stuff like this or no?
So, when we went through medic training, the infection prevention and just contact precautions and droplet precautions was all the same. So I was like, okay, well, this is just a review.
Yeah.
So it's straight across the board, which is good, like through the medical field. So it wasn't anything new. I know in Fort Sam they were making us wear masks whenever we went places. It wasn't in class at the time because we were out of class at that point. But you know, if we wanted to go to the PX or wherever, you had to wear a mask. I know they were like enforcing some kind of fine by the time we left that if you were in, you know, San Antonio and you weren't wearing a mask, you were being fined for that. As far as being a nurse, it's definitely changed. You know, I came back and we have the surgical masks everyone wants to wear, but then we have the N95s, which are more form-fitting, and you have to get fitted, like you have to have a fit test to make sure that none of the particles you're trying to block are actually going to get in your mask, which is why I was laughing when I was telling you, you know, patients and family members were stealing them off the doors before we had to lock them up, because I'm like, if you don't have the right size, it's not doing you any good, homie. Like,
they're gonna duct tape it to their face.
Yeah, so I was just like, what? Like, and guys with beards can't wear them. You have to wear a certain kind of mask. So you're just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
But like, you know, you put on a mask one time, you go in the room, and then if you come in contact with someone, you have to take it off and throw it away. Well, I come back to the hospital after being in training, and they're like, yeah, we're reusing masks. This is like, I was like, what? What do you mean we're reusing masks? And they're like, well, unless you touch it with your hands, like, and it's been soiled. I'm like, but, you know, first of all, like, and the, like, just basics of nursing and infection prevention, if I have to wear a mask, it's because I'm within 6 feet of someone. They're like, yes. Okay, cool. That means that I'm within 6 feet where the droplet from whatever they fucking have, whether it's the common cold, tuberculosis, well, tuberculosis is airborne, so I rescind that. You know, the common cold, the flu, COVID, whatever,
measles,
has hit my mask at this point. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, so that's why we always throw away the masks after we've been in the patient's room. Yes. But now I get to rewear it as long as I don't touch it with my gloves. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, what? Like,
so basically what they're telling you is you can't eat for an entire day.
Yeah, you just can't touch it. You can't, like, just, it's fine. Basically, it's that mean, it's fine. This is fine. And I'm just like, it's not fine. This is not okay. Like,
how did that, and I know you got to use the military's gas mask, and I haven't seen, I know they got some new ones out. I haven't seen the current ones that they're using. But I know the ones that we had the straw where you can, like, suck the fluid, like the water from the canteen. Did you guys still have those or no?
we didn't get to try that.
You didn't get to try those?
Well, I'm telling you, I got gypped going to Fort Jackson. God bless it. They made fun of us.
Oh, that's awful.
They're like, we could tell who went to fucking relax in Jackson because you guys don't do
relax in Jackson? I don't remember that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and then you've got guys who went to Benning, which I didn't know was a thing. Like, I didn't realize they sent us pogues to Benning. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, we're basically infantry. And I was like, no, you're not. You're still a pogue. Like, what the fuck?
Aren't the guys that go to Benning, or I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the people that go to Benning are the ones that pick up a selection contract with their recruiting.
I don't think so. Like, I think it was only dudes who went because they're still not sending females to Benning. I know there was one, or did he go to SIL? I know there was one of us who has a selection packet. Fucking lucky bastard. They told me I couldn't.
They like, I know for them, I'm pretty sure that they go through their basic training, and then their basic training is almost like preparation for selection. And if they fail out of that, then they have to go to their basic MLS course versus going to selection.
Well, I thought
I don't know.
I thought it was just depressing for them in general. You could tell who they were too because they were wearing white socks in their PTs. And the drill surgeons at AIT were like, "You don't trust people who wear white socks in PTs." And we're like, "But why?" And they're like, "It's a thing." And then everyone comes off the bus from Benning and they're all wearing white socks. And we're like, "Oh, I guess we all know who comes from Benning." So they were like, "It was horrible. Like, we got treated like grunts, and we had to do ruck marches with machine guns, but they didn't give us the respect of being grunts, and they just kept calling us Pogue." It's just like, oh no.
Should have been like, go back to your computer.
Yeah, and then, we're over here at Relax in Jackson, and they're like, you don't have to kick in doors, and you're never gonna touch a machine gun, so you're just gonna ruck with your M4s. And they're like, what the fuck? And so it's like basic training experiences may vary, and you're just like, it's so strange. Everyone hated Jackson though. Everyone was like, Jackson didn't have to do shit, and so we're all just like.
One of my friends, Mac, he says, he pulled up a Step Brothers quote. He goes, "More room for activities." Well, I don't have my ninja sword yet, and I don't have a watermelon, and you're not here to throw it up in the air so I can karate chop it.
Oh God, yeah, no, it's changed a lot. Like I remember we did go through the chamber with the gas mask, but we didn't get to do as much as everyone else did at Jackson.
Oh, that sucks.
And it's funny too, because our commander was combat engineer. He went to sapper school. He was really proud of it, and he was really cool. I liked him as far as commanders go.
Yeah.
But he would not let us do anything. He's like, "Oh, you're Pogues anyway. You don't have to learn how to do this." And we're like, "It's basic combat training. We have to know. Like, I want to kick in doors, and I want to understand looking for like I asked all the questions. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, Zach's always got a fucking question."
We took when I was in Afghanistan, we had a female medic with us, and she was out there apparently this is a thing in Afghanistan. I had no idea this was a thing. I just knew that the valley that we rolled through was called Ambush Alley because, you were guaranteed to get in a gunfight rolling through there. It was just to be expected. There's no way you were going to avoid it. And if it was raining, you're for sure getting in a gunfight because for some odd reason, they like to shoot at you when it's raining. I don't know why. You'd think they'd want to be back at their homes staying dry, but whenever it's raining, they're out there. Yeah. Let's talk about my throat. Oh, yeah, my throat. Yeah, Max says, he goes, talking about your throat. There's more room for activities. Like, hey, you know what? We're not telling everyone what kind of activities goes on in my throat. But there's been a lot of that lately. So I accidentally, right before the surgery, I accidentally blurted out. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be able to suck down more oxygen." And one of my friends was like, "Oh, that's not all you're gonna be able to suck down." And I was like, "Oh, I freaking walked into that." Yeah, why did I do that? You joined the wrong branch for that. You know what? For what? Be more specific. For activities in the throat or for gas mask?
Oh, activities in the throat probably gonna be Navy. Shots fired. I'm sorry, Navy.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely have more activities going on in the throat if you join the Navy.
I missed that in Fort Sam because, like you said, there was every branch there. We were always giving each other shit.
Oh, I bet.
And all the fucking too.
I bet.
There's one kid. He cracked me up. He was my buddy. We were walking in staggered columns. Only the Army ever walked in staggered columns. The Navy would walk through in their platoons or whatever. And we were going past, and God bless him, I fucking miss Austin, but he would yell really, really loud. He's like, "I don't understand what this whole social distancing thing with COVID is. I don't know why it's a big deal. I've had syphilis 3 times and I'm just fine." And everyone in the Navy would just go, just turn and look at him. He's like, "Yes, desired outcome."
Oh, that's awful.
He's like, "What, you guys understand? You get it in the Navy all the time, right?" And there's someone who's ready to throw hands, and you're just like,
That's funny. He says, pay attention to when things were responded to. All the basic combat activities for all the service members. I'm not sure where he's going off with that.
Probably the lack of training we got at Fort Jackson with that.
Probably. Well, I remember. So we had one station unit training. Our basic training and our advanced training were combined into one. So it was great.
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't even like, basic training at all. And so we were in the gas mask multiple times. It wasn't just for the gas chamber. We ran an obstacle course with our gas mask on. Mm-hmm. And like, some of the people, it was funny. There was like a good half mile uphill portion where like when people got to that point, they were just like, you could see them off to the side. They'd have their gas mask up. And the reason why they had it up was because they were thrown up inside of it. I was just like, it was amazing. I'm like, man. Well, anyways, going back to my original thought, it's like, I'm surprised they have not invented some N95 or some type of gas mask where you can just suck. You gotta put like your burger in a blender and just suck it in, so you're not starved all day as a nurse. what I do, like this is some of this is like after surgery thought too. Like everyone was like, oh, because I got stuck eating ice cream for like 3 weeks. Like who's gonna complain about that? I gained like 10 pounds, so what? But it's like it was ice cream. Like I'm not gonna complain, but it was also bad because I was like, man, I can't eat anything at all. Like everything that passes down my throat, fluids, whether it's hot or cold, just burned and hurt. And I absolutely resented it. Even for like a couple weeks there, I even avoided like brushing my teeth a couple times just because my throat hurt. But it's like using these. I have some face masks that I bought, and she is smarter than you. Who isn't smarter than me? I love this guy. He's amazing. But yeah.
Put me in a room with a bunch of technology, and you're gonna see how dumb I get real quick.
Yeah. You should have seen this before I went live. I was trying to get her to help me. Did not work.
Potato.
Yeah. I'm over here, squirrel. But yeah, it's like you'd think that they would be able to like invent something so you could just suck down fluids and food through these masks. But now it's like you got to sit there and practically starve all day, unless you're going to touch it. And what I do when I come up, sometimes I don't wear a mask, but most of the time I do. But what I end up doing is I have a lot of spray alcohol because of my prosthetic. I use spray alcohol to clean my prosthetic off. There's amputees that don't clean their prosthetics off, and God forbid the people that have to hang around them because their legs usually smell rancid. They smell like they're rotting. I'm not kidding you. That's why I do it. I spray off the inside at least once a week, and I spray the liner off almost every day. And there's guys out there that won't even take their legs into the showers and clean them off. And as soon as you're right next to them, or like one example, I had to fly on a private jet with one a long time ago, and we were all sitting on the plane. I was just like, oh God, that smells so bad. It was awful. It was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. One of the worst smells. And, I have a bunch of it. I have a ton of alcohol because of that. And so I'm like, well, hey, I get to put it to use. So every time I use a mask, if I don't feel like throwing it in the washer, I just give it a few whiffs of alcohol. Let it air dry outside somewhere.
That's the basis of what we're doing with our masks now, because it gets even worse. Like the standard surgical masks, we'll throw them out, but the N95s are so coveted that we'll send them off to get sanitized. And I'm just like, I feel like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's just squinting. I'm like, But like, if this wasn't a thing before, is it really like? Are you just trying to make it feel better?
Do you guys have the N95 mask with the valve that lets air out?
No, it's just like no.
Oh, it's just the fabric one.
Yes, and so I'm just like, I was like, well, I mean, so initially like we would put our name on it and we'd get ours back for a second use, but then they were switching it over to a different type where we didn't even have to get ours back. It was someone else's. I mean, and I was like, what if this person like sneezed in it? Like, and they're like, it's sanitized, Brie. It's sanitized. I'm like, but is it though? Like,
I'd rather just keep using my own.
I lucked out like my last 3 weeks at my last job because I just kept kind of like throwing it away.
Is everyone kind of like on the same page as far as sarcasm?
Yeah.
They are. You could be like, well, I don't know where their mouth has been. Yeah, you can totally say that. I'd be throwing people under the bus. Be like, well, I don't know where their mouth has been. Last time, huh? No, like,
It's one of these professions. It's just like the army. We're just as sarcastic and nasty and have a really dark sense of humor. So I'm pretty sure. Like,
yeah. I saw you in the locker room doing something I wasn't sure what. I wasn't about to ask.
Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, there's that old YouTube video that's out there where, what the heck is it called? I don't remember what the title of it was, but it's like this guy. He just graduated basic training. I could send it to you later on, but he just graduated basic training and he gets sent off in a smorgasbord of like a training deployment down to like Louisiana. I don't remember where it was at, where he went, but he's in there with another E5 that he's never met before, and he's in this like hooch with another E5 and another E6 that they don't know who each other are, and it's one of the best YouTube stories out there. And the E6's duffel bag topples over, and the way he describes it, he goes, and I couldn't help but notice, but this big, black, veiny dildo comes falling out of his bag. And at first I turned around, just pretending that I just saw what, or imagining that I just saw what I actually saw. And he's like, I'm coming up with snares. Maybe he's an amputee. Maybe it says amputee arm, or, yeah. It's great. And he goes, I realized what it was when I heard the snap of the sinew pull away from the cold concrete floor. I was laughing so hard. I was like, that's something that you would totally expect to happen. It was great. It was, yeah. I'm like, that stuff happens all the time. Like, imagining if this happens, in a hospital setting, I'd be like, I don't know where your mouth has been, who you've been kissed on. Like,
they tell you some weird shit, man. You walk in with some weird shit too. You've not been a nurse long enough. You haven't walked in on patients doing the nasty, especially night shift. You're just like, fuck. Really?
How much time you need in there?
The worst is when they try and play it off. I'm like, I mean, I'm not mad. Just like, just wasn't expecting that when I came in to check to make sure you're breathing. So clearly your area is paying, except for it's clogging it right now. So I'm just gonna walk out the door and I'll be back.
If I was friends with someone that was an inpatient, I would totally be like, I would throw like KY jelly at them through the door or something like that. Like, like I don't know. Yeah. I did it all. When I was a patient, it was like I did it all. I pulled pranks on all the nurses. I had like fake throw up on the ground when they would come in and do their rounds. Like, I don't even remember where I got them, but those stinking glasses with the eyeballs that popped out. I was just bored out of my mind. I'd put the blanket over my head, and like I wouldn't respond to them, so they'd pull the blanket off my head, and then the eyeballs, they'd scare the crap out of them. Yeah.
I fucking love veterans. They figured out early on when I first became a nurse I was really good with veterans, and like they just kept putting me with them, and then I'd be like, I fucking love you guys. Like, you guys are awesome. Thank you for your service. And the veterans are just like, yeah. Then they realize they could just be smartasses with me every time I walk in the room. They're like, I just get roasted every time I walk in a patient's room. They're giving me shit.
Do you work at a military hospital or a civilian hospital?
Civilian hospital, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do
yeah,
you?
no, you get enough of them coming in, especially with the VA. So.
No, really. Oh, okay. Do you anticipate ever? So what was it that you actually like branched into in the Army? Like, what's your main MOS? Wasn't it? Didn't you get to like branch as like some type of special medic, like a nurse or something like that, or no?
No. So they wanted to put me in as a nurse. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I was okay with being a combat medic, so I went ahead. I got my MOS as a combat medic. And then the goal is to end up going eventually and doing 18 Delta.
Yeah.
Which is the Special Forces variation of it. So, like, I do nursing on the civilian side. So the goal with my nursing career is to go do trauma, hopefully go do flight nursing, and then I eventually want to get my nurse practitioner and then take a completely different route and work with veterans with PTSD. So
yeah, it's 18 Delta. That's the ODA medic.
Special Forces medic. Green
Yeah,
Beret.
yeah. So that one I've heard that they have to like ride around in like ambulances and they visit like, I guess they do like different. They hold different spots at different like different cities at different metro hospitals and stuff like that. Like they're practically almost like a PA, from what I've heard, almost like a physician assistant.
Yeah, I've asked around. I'm like, what do you get to do? And they're like, everything. But then that's it. That's all they'll ever tell me. I'm like, I guess I'm not gonna get to know until I get to the course. So I'm gonna quit asking.
I can guarantee that you're gonna learn a lot in it. You're gonna learn a lot more than what you would probably get trained as a nurse. I read an article a few months back, and this was from Task and Purpose, but from the 75th Ranger Battalion, they performed a blood transfusion in the middle of combat, and I was just like, that's hard. It takes a lot of training to do.
Yeah, no, I remember I had read it before I'd gone to class. And our cadre member pulled it up for us to read in class, and we were all just like, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
You know, what the fuck? Because it's so unheard of. Like, I remember, like, thinking of giving blood in class, you know? So, again, nursing perspective going into the combat medic world, I'm thinking about, like, you know, about 10, like, steps, you know, past everyone, because it's just the basic course. And, you know, everyone's going to start giving blood, and I'm thinking in my nurse brain, like, I can't check for reactions and this reaction, and I can't Tylenol beforehand. This is just, like, really, like, gunslinging shit. Like, this is, like, the back of the ambulance shit. And you hear about these fucking, like, I don't even know what Vikings in combat, these Rangers giving, like, transfusing, like, taking blood out of themselves, still staying in the firefight, and, like, transfusing. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what a great time to be a fucking combat medic, to be able to, like, to have the knowledge and the science of our time and actually be able to take it into combat. Like,
yeah.
You know, we talk, I don't know, obviously Black Hawk Down's a really well-known, you know, movie, and, you know, everything that happened in the Battle of Mogadishu. You know, you watch the scene where Jamie bleeds out of his femoral because there's no way to put a tourniquet on a joint back in that time. And we have a SAM junctional tourniquet now that you can put on joints and stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, people like him and, you know, so many people in all these past wars who had bleeding where we couldn't get a traditional tourniquet on, we can save their lives now. And I'm just like, what an amazing time to be in the medical field and be able to like just save people from just stuff that you wish you could have thought of earlier on.
Yeah. I know, I remember when everyone was carrying tampons around for gunshot wounds. I've never seen one in action. I've heard rumors. I don't know how good they are. But it was just the spur of that, though, that I think it ended up developing that idea of it ended up in the development of a few more things that the military now use, that now you guys use as medics to like, plug up holes that are, bleeding and stuff like that. And I don't know all of them out there. I know a couple of them, but you're more than welcome to enlighten me on.
So we still got the pretty basic stuff. New things that are still coming down the pipeline, they don't bring into TRADOC, just simply because they want us to have a standard across the board training when we go out to our units.
Yeah.
And the new things that they haven't really developed, like a protocol, just like I said, right across the board, we'll learn and pick up when we go to our unit. But that SAM junctional was a big one. It's gnarly. It's like this huge belt. And you have almost these two inflatable hockey pucks, and you go looking for the femoral artery. You have your casualty hold it over that artery, and then you put the belt on super tight and you pump. That shit hurt so bad. You had full-grown men reduced to tears because it just hurts so bad. And you look down and our boots are off because we take them off for our CCAs, and you see people's toes turning blue because it's cutting off circulation like that well. And so that was one of the cooler things that we had coming down that were still pretty new, but there was more of a standardization to how to use them.
Yeah.
So that it's insane. Like, they work just as well as a tourniquet.
So if a patient is in pain, like so much pain, I'm asking you based off my own experience, but if someone is in pain and like the morphine isn't doing them justice, and they ask you, hey, just hit me with the butt stock of your weapon and knock me out, are you allowed to do that? Would you do that?
Oh, it's one of those gray areas. Yeah, I never thought I'd ask that question. Of all the questions I asked, damn,
I begged for our medic to do that, and he wouldn't do it.
I feel like
I was just like, just knock me out so I can't feel it. I'll be better off.
I think the problem with that is just knowing, like, if you start to slip out of consciousness, we want to know, like, okay, like this guy's like not doing so good. We want to know where his level of consciousness is. But I'd like to think if I wasn't worried about that I would, like, I don't know, I'm a mercy kind of person, so I think if you yelled it at me enough and I wasn't worried about you like dying on me, I'd probably be like, okay, fuck it, like, listen.
Max says, I would for you, Jimmy. Oh, y'all know you would.
I think that's the biggest thing, is just one of our key assessment points is level of consciousness. So if I start to like lose you and you're not really responding, then I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Butt pucker moment, as we call it. We need to get him out of here now.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, there was like a certain level of pain where it's just like, I feel like unless it's like a mediocre, I feel like there's like different levels of injuries, but like if it's like some gnarly fracture or like gnarly like wound, I can tell from it that morphine doesn't work that well on them. it just clouds your judgment enough where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit high, but that pain is sure as shit still there. Yeah.
I think the other thing to consider is doc doesn't want to have to explain to whoever why their patient now has a concussion. It's like, well, the butt of my rifle slipped. And just
they evacuated us out to a combat hospital. I don't remember what base was it. I'm brain farting the base for some reason, but there was like so much chaos there. There was, I think, two people from my vehicle that got injured, and then in my same unit on the same day, just like 30 minutes or an hour prior to us, I think 3 more people got hit in a different side of Afghanistan, and we all got taken to the same combat hospital. So there was just, this combat hospital was in chaos. And as soon as they got to me, they were cutting off my boot. And I saw my foot swell up. That was it. I just passed out. That's all it took. It didn't take much after that. But anyways, I guess, so if there's one thing that you could tell people, like how this experience has changed you and like what you anticipate going forward, like what would it be?
So we kept jumping back and forth between nursing and medic. You mean this experience with COVID as far as nursing, or my experience in trade-off with training for becoming a medic? And I'm sorry, you can hear my 7-year-old.
Oh, it's fine. I got
Franklin, go away.
I got plenty of people that got the kids.
No, not right now. Okay, not right now. Mom life.
Oh man, one of my friends, we did a podcast, and his kid, you could hear him in the background. We did a contest where if you could pinpoint the time that we heard his kid, we gave away a free patch. It was cool. It's all cool. No worries. But like, yeah, what would be like one thing that you've taken away from it that helped you grow that you would like to share with everyone else from being a nurse, from joining the Army?
I think the biggest thing with nursing is just compassion, and it's looking at patients and family members who are incredibly difficult and saying to yourself, okay, how would I want someone to talk to me right now if this were my grandparent or my loved one? Even raging alcoholics or drug addicts we have coming in, like, this is somebody,
Yeah.
And how would I want them to be treated? And it allows you to kind of take a moment and step back and go, okay, it's not me. This person's pissed off or treating like shit for, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the cause of it. I'm just kind of innocent bystander getting hit. So what can I do to de-escalate the situation? And it's always worked really, really well for me just to be like, okay, I fucking get it. Like, I don't know where you, like, how you feel, but I'm here with you. You can't talk to me like shit, but I can sit here and listen to you bitch. And most of the time, that's just what people want, is just someone who fucking gives a shit.
Yeah.
Even if you fix it. And then I think definitely with the military, it's a mindset thing. I remember watching and reading Lone Survivor and thinking to myself, how the fuck does someone get shot in the head and fall off a mountain and still be combat functional? I don't understand. And I was talking to one of my friends, he combat veteran. He was like, it's just a mental thing. You turn it off. You turn off all pain. You turn off all fear, and you go. Like, you do what you do. And it's 9 times out of 10 because you love someone who's next to you. And he's like, now I'm done being fruity. I'm going to walk away. But, and I remember thinking to myself in basic, when I tore my ankle ligament, they were like, okay, well, you got 6 more miles you have to ruck. Are you going to quit, or are you going to keep going? I remember thinking to myself, God forbid I ever get out there and I get injured like this and someone needs me.
Yeah.
What do I have to draw back on this moment when I was like, oh, well, I'm going to get in the van and fuck it, and just recycle? Or am I going to see how far I can actually push? Because, I have the luxury of putting my foot up and recycling if I want to here. I'm not going to have that luxury if I deploy. And so it was going, okay, well, I'm going to keep rucking. I don't really know how I'm going to do that, but I guess, turn it off. And it's from there when I was able to actually finish that ruck march. It was one of the best feelings in the world. I was crying. I was a little bitch about it, like, the entire time that I did it. And I remember my friend, he asked me, he's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because I want to know that I can carry someone out if I need to.
Yeah.
If I'm hurt. And it was that mental fortitude that if you can get all past the bullshit and the hurry up and wait and the why the fuck are we playing these fuck games, this is stupid, and just realizing it literally is for a purpose.
Yeah.
It is for mental fortitude. It is to just tell yourself, I can suck up this momentary just bullshit.
Yeah.
Get through.
You can always
take away.
Yeah, it's like once you start experiencing that first pain, it's like you can either choose to I hate using the word give up, but that recycle word is another good word for it. You can either, recycle the situation and start it over, or you can push it and see how far you can actually go with the current, situation. So, yeah, that's a great point. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. I appreciate you coming on. That's, it's been a blast, watching you go through your training and stuff like that. And,
I'll be a boot.
yeah. It's it's definitely been interesting for me because I haven't known anyone that has joined the military recently, and seeing how it's changed. I was just like, well, I'm gonna get her on the podcast. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, this was a blast. So, well,
having me in my boot ways.
yeah, in your boot ways. Yeah, just you gotta promise one thing: is you don't turn into a fobbit.
Oh my God, what's a fobbit?
Yeah, a fobbit is a person when they get deployed, they never leave the base.
Oh fuck no! I would hate my life. I would be like, I'd be like, let me go, send me.
That's a fobbit. That's a fobbit.
Oh, I won't be a fobbit then.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and stay safe. You know, try not to get sick if you can.
Cool again.
Yeah, stop kicking people on the ass. And I'll keep in touch.
All right, you too.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
What song? How can I send her a song? Send her that song. You'll have to send it yourself because I don't know what song you're talking about.